morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Lincoln on this World AIDS Day. My name is Kathy Disney, and my pronouns are she, her, and I am a worship associate of this church. I am joined on the chancel this morning by members Jean Helms, Shelley Fowler, and by Aaron Flott, who will be delivering our sermon. Aaron is an advocate and activist who was born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska. He has been advocating for the rights of people living with HIV and AIDS since he was 18 years old. In 2010, at the age of 20, he went to Washington, D.C. and lobbied Congress to increase the funding for the AIDS Drug Assistance Program. Aaron has been living with HIV for the past 17 years, which is the catalyst behind his efforts. Over the last few years, the way that we have met has often changed. But whether in person, on Zoom, or a YouTube live stream, or some way of being that we cannot yet even imagine, worshiping together is a chance to deepen our connection with the sources of meaning in our lives and to proclaim who we are and what we are about, throwing open the doors of our congregation and proclaiming the radical love and welcome that is at the heart of our faith. At this time, Board member Michael Stratman from the Board of Trustees would like to offer his own welcome and give us a few announcements.
Good morning. I'm Michael Stratman, a member of your Board of Trustees. I want to offer a special welcome to those of you who are visiting for the first time. I have a few announcements to share as our church community extends beyond this, our Sunday morning worship. After church today, the second town hall will be held at 11:30 p.m. in person and via live stream. Members will learn about the proposed 2025 operating budget and have a chance to ask questions. Remember that next Sunday is the winter congregational meeting on December 8th at 11:30 a.m. Voting will be done by virtual ballot. The email will go out on Sunday and members will have 48 hours to vote, or paper ballots will be available on Sunday after the meeting. And last, remember to save the date for the annual soup supper on Friday, December 13th at 6 p.m. Come for the soup, stay for the crafts, music, and holiday joy. Please sign up today in the gallery. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. The Unitarian Church of Lincoln aspires to be a loving community uniting reason with spiritual exploration to transform ourselves and our world. We have a big vision here, and we know that creating a loving community begins with welcome. So whether this is your first time here or your 500th, if you come here hopeful or heartbroken, whatever your age, gender, skin color, whomever you love, you are welcome here. As we enter into worship, take a moment to center yourself in this place. Find a comfortable place with your body. Take a few deep breaths. And let us continue into worship with our chalice lighting.
We're going to get another good morning. My name is Jean Helms. I'm the admin director here, and I'm pleased to be participating in this service today. Today's chalice lighting comes from a Unitarian Universalist minister of our time, Reverend Joan Javier Duval, and it is entitled Lay It Down. Here is where you can lay it down. Lay down all that you have carried, the weight of the world that has rounded your back, leaving you aching and exhausted. Here is where healing begins, where burdens are set down alongside one another's, their magnitude does not seem as great. Here is where the door is thrown wide open, and the light can lift away the shadows, and what was hidden can now be seen. Here is where you can rest, where nothing is expected, but that you bring all of who you are into the presence of the holy and of this loving community. Let us worship together. Please rise in body or spirit for our first hymn, number 360, Here We Have Gathered.
If anyone would like to come forward for the story, you can do so now. Our story today is called Love by Matt De La Pina. In the beginning, there is light and wide-eyed figures standing near the foot of your bed, and the sound of their voices is love. A cab driver plays love softly on the radio while you bounce and back with the bumps of the city, and everything smells new, and it smells like life. Love, too, is the smell of crashing waves and a train whistling blindly in the distance. And each night you spot the moon, and the sky above you turns the color to love. In a crowded concrete park, you toddle towards summer sprinklers, while older kids skip rope and run up the slide, and soon you are running among them, and the echo of your laughter is love. On the night the fire alarm blares, you're pulled from sleep and whisked into the street where a quiet old lady is pointing to the sky. Stars shine long after they've flamed out, she tells you, and the shine they shine with is love. But it's not only the stars that flame out, you discover. It's summers, too, and friendships, and people. And one day you find your family nervously huddled around the TV, but when you ask what happened, they answer with silence and shift between you and the screen. In your dream that night, you're searching for a love that seems lost. You open and close drawers, lift cushions, empty old toy bins, but there's nothing. You wake with a start in the arms of a loved one who bends to your ear and whispers, "It's okay, it's okay, it's love." And in time, you learn to recognize a love overlooked, a love that wakes at dawn and rides to work on the bus, a slice of burned toast that tastes like love. And it's love in each deep crease of your grandfather's face as he lowers himself onto an overturned bucket to fish. And it's love in the rustling leaves of trees that seem to talk to you while you sit along a path in the woods, as they seem to whisper to you, or the trees lined behind the flower fields when their leaves blow. And it's love in the made-up stories your uncles tell in the backyard between wild horseshoe throws. And the man in rags outside the subway station plays love notes that lift into the skyline like tiny beacons of light. And the face staring back in the mirror, this too is love. So when the time comes for you to set off on your own, heavy winds will sleep past your building and great gray clouds will congregate above. Your loved ones will stand there like a puddle beneath their umbrellas, holding you tight and kissing you and wishing you luck. But it won't be luck you'll leave with, because you'll have love. You'll have love, love, love. And that is the end of our story. Next, we have our guest musician while the children head back to their classes.
you, Nick. That was beautiful. A central part of our service is the time we join together as a community to mark the moments of our lives. We share with one another our joys, our sorrows, the events that mark the steps on our journey. The threads of sorrow and those of joy are intertwined in the fabric of our lives, present for all, remembered by all. Our joys are shared and magnified. We are comforted in our sorrows. I invite you to type into the chat if you're online, or to speak into this shared space your name or the name of another you wish to be remembered in sorrow.
Deirdre.
Deirdre. Chase. D. Rachel. In the chat for sorrows, we have Jason and his family and Marilyn. Sorrow is not the only thing. We also have joy in our community. So now I invite you to type into the chat or to speak into this shared space your name or the name of another you wish to be remembered with joy.
Michelle Gross.
Michelle Gross.
Family gatherings.
Family gatherings.
My oldest niece, Sophie, is 8 years old today.
Oldest niece, Sophia, 8 years old today.
New art show.
A new art show. We know, too, that there are some joys and some sorrows that are yet unspoken, but deeply felt. Let us hold a moment of silence for everything that is unspoken. Thank you for your presence here today.
Good morning. The reading I'm going to share with you today is titled, God Gave Me a Word, by the Reverend Amy Petrie Shaw, a Unitarian Universalist minister of our time. I was talking to God the other day, because we're cool like that, and God said, hey, I want you to tell people something. And I was kind of busy, so I pretended like I didn't hear. And God poked me and said, I'm not kidding, pay attention. Because while we're cool, we aren't that cool. And I know when I have pushed it way too far. So I put down my cup of coffee and I turned around. And God said, let me hang a word around your neck so that everyone can see it. And you'd better speak it when you're out, because I'll know if you don't. And it will be heavy, so heavy on your soul. And a word was hung around my neck to take out to the people standing in the streets. A word was preached into my ear and laid into my mouth and burned into my heart until all I could see was the shape of the word, and the word was all. And the word was love. And God said, now get out, because you don't have all day, and that word is going to get heavier, and you've got some work yet to do. So I'm taking my word out into the world. Love came down on this green earth. Love came down and turned over the tables and set the world on its end. Love made it clear that it was the word for the poor and the brokenhearted, for the queer boy and the angry girl. Love was the word for the late-night hookers and the long-haul truckers, for the heroin junkies and the runaway cutters. Love was the word for all the screwed up and pushed over and too tired, and I can't take no more. Love was the word for the HIV patient and the man with no papers. Love was the word for me and for you and for the saints and the sinners and the scramblers in between. Love came down and made a way for there to be a way. And then love said, we are never going back. He who has ears, let him hear. Love said, we are all part of something bigger. And if you cannot rise with us, if you cannot love with us, then you should get the hell out of the way, because we aren't going anywhere and you are in the path. Woo! He who has ears, let him hear. Love came down for the world to know. And I'm holding out this word so that even when you are God, you and God are just like that. You can't pretend you didn't know. I cannot put it down. Not for the politician spewing hatred, not for the minister vomiting out bile in the costume of a saint, not for money or for country or for kin. I'm holding my word in my mouth, because the next time I see God, I want to be able to say, you gave me a word and I carried it just the way you asked. You gave it to me and I took it and I showed it to everyone I met. You showed it to me and I showed it to her and Gur and Z and him. I showed it to them and they and those over there. I never put it down. I can never put it down. I was talking to God the other day, because we're cool like that. And God said, hey, I want you to tell the people something. And I was still kind of busy, so I pretended like I didn't hear. And God said, I'm not kidding, pay attention. Because while we're cool, we're not that cool. And I know when I've pushed it way too far. So I put down my coffee cup and I turned around. And then God gave me a word. And now I've given it to you. Start moving.
Each week, we take up a collection to support the work of this church and our partners in the community. We do this because each, as we all grow from our participation in this community, we all give back. through our time, our talent, and our treasure. As our next piece of music by Nick plays, the ushers will pass our offering plates. You can also give by texting UC Lincoln and the amount to 73256. That's UC Lincoln and the amount to 73256. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Hello, hello. My name is Aaron Flott, and I'm here to talk to you guys for World AIDS Day. Thank you so much for having me. The theme of World AIDS Day this year for 2024 is Take the Rights Path, My Health, My Rights. I'm going to talk to you guys today a little bit about my story. I found out I was HIV positive when I was 17 years old. Growing up in Nebraska, you know, you hear about it, but we didn't really get a lot of education in high school about that type of stuff. And so being so young, I kind of thought, sorry. Being so young, I didn't know much about it, and I kind of thought, you know, I'm gonna die, and like, what does this mean? And just not having that education was kind of scary. I got connected with the Nebraska AIDS Project, which is an AIDS service organization, which not only serves Nebraska, they serve Iowa, Wyoming, and I want to say, let me not quote something that's, I know for sure they quote, they assist with HIV patients in Iowa, Nebraska, and Wyoming. And they've been doing that for over 40 years. When I initially found out I was positive, I went there and they kind of gave me some resources. And I was scared. I remember I went to a support group, and this is kind of where my advocate and activism work started. I was young at the time, and I went there, and it was a lot of older adults. And I remember I told my caseworker, you know, all these people are old enough to be my grandfather, and they, no offense to anybody here, but I was just looking for that sense of community and that sense of belonging, and I couldn't really see myself with that older group of people. And with the help of my caseworker at Nebraska AIDS Project, I started one of the first youth support groups in Nebraska. And I was able to connect with people who were my age, who were going through that stuff, the same things I were going through, but also trying to navigate, you know, adulthood. And kind of getting involved with that. I was asked to do an anti-stigma campaign. I did commercials that aired across Nebraska. And I started doing more public speaking events and just trying to educate and take away, you know, the stigma of the disease. Which I kind of felt like I went from a victim to the victor, you know, like I took the power back. And so it wasn't something that was so scary for me, it was just something that had happened. And in 2010, there was a AIDS drug assistance program waiting list with over 5,000 people. I was unable to get my meds, as well as, you know, many people across the country, unless you had an AIDS-defining illness. And this is where I kind of felt that, like, you know, I want to be the victor. I got more involved with an organization in DC, and I ended up flying out there and speaking in front of Congress, and I lobbied for more funding for the AIDS drug assistance program, and also Ryan White, which assists people nationwide with medication, and with health insurance, you know, things that are very important for us to live. And that was before the Affordable Care Act. So that, if you had a pre-existing condition, if, you know, you weren't eligible to get health insurance, or if you did have health insurance, they wouldn't cover those costs. With those efforts and lobbying to Congress, they did allocate over $25 million more that year to extend care to those people who were on a waiting list. And then the Affordable Care Act passed in March 23 of 2010, with most of that taking into effect by January of 2014. The reason I'm talking about this is because the average cost of my medication I take is $3,878.88 a month. That is $129.29 per day. You know, that's what, you know, that it's astronomical to think that it would cost, just for me to stay alive, $116,366 a year for 30 pills a month, you know? And with this we're kind of in a crazy time right now, you know, with the new president. This is a whole new administration. The Affordable Care Act, you know, allows people like me and people who have pre-existing conditions to be able to afford insurance, to be able to afford our medication, to be able to access the care we need. You know, a lot of that stuff's in limbo right now. We don't know what's going to happen at the end of 2025. A lot of subsidies that President Biden put in place are expiring. These assist Americans, middle-class Americans, all Americans, with premiums. It cut a lot of their premiums in half for their insurance. But so we don't know what's going to happen with that, and that's kind of scary for not only me, but other people living with pre-existing conditions, and how are they going to afford their meds, you know? And I think the theme for World AIDS Day, you know, take the rights path, not the right path, but the rights, you know, the rights of everybody. And right now with this new administration, it's kind of scary with, Trump spent $215 million on anti-trans ads during his election. We don't know what's going to happen with gay marriage in the future. We didn't think women's rights would ever be on the chopping block again, but since Roe was overturned in 2022, 14 states have enacted near total abortion bans, while 4 states have a ban after 6 weeks, which is Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida, and Iowa. It's a scary time we live in, Some quotes from President Trump himself, President-elect. For trans rights, he's gonna revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care, sign an executive order for every federal agency to cease all programs and promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age. Inform states and school districts that if any teacher or school official suggests to a child that they could be trapped in the wrong body, they will face severe consequences. These are all things that he said. And it's so crazy that we live in a time now where we have a leader that is being so divisive and is not giving us rights, but taking them away, There was, when HIV was first, discovered, they called it GRID. I want to say it's a gay-related immunodeficiency. I could be wrong. But they didn't realize it wasn't affecting other people, so it wasn't that big a deal, And right now, us as Americans, we think, well, I'm not trans, so it's not that big a deal. Or I don't believe in abortion, but it's not that big a deal, So they're taking away, slowly, our rights, not only for trans Americans, for women, for illegal immigrants, mass deportations. Now is not the time to do nothing. Now is the time to act and get involved. To write letters, to call your elected officials, but most of all, to spread unity and hope. There is a chant that kind of rings true today that I think more than ever, it's the ACT UP chant. ACT UP was a group in the 80s, 90s, they're still around today, that fought for the rights of people living with AIDS, for funding for medication, for funding just to figure out what was going on. And the ACT UP chant is gay, straight, black, white, same struggle, same fight. And that is the time we are living in. Whether you're gay, straight, man or woman, black or white, we are all, this is all of ours fight. And this is something that I am proud to be a part of that fight. I'm proud to be in the ring with like-minded people like yourselves. And I want to thank you again for having me today, and go out and spread unity and hope, and just remember that, this is our rights, and, we have to fight for them in the most lovely way, in the most rigorous way. Thank you.
Hello again. I'm going to teach you a song. These are dark times, these are hard times, and we have to remember to keep ourselves going. I heard this song, Amy Miller played it on her radio show. Shout out Amy Miller, shout out KZUM. And ever since I've heard this song, it kind of has lived in my heart and brings me joy whenever I need it. So there's just 3 lines that are all the same, and then the 4th line is a little bit different. And I can't see those words to tell if it's quite right. So I'll sing a line, and then you sing it back to me. There's 4 lines total, and then we'll sing it all the way through together. Okay? Oh, you can stand up, yeah, because yeah. could even clap once you get the hang of it. This joy I have, the world didn't give it to me. Now you. This joy I have, the world didn't give it to me. Now me. This joy I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy I have, the world didn't give it to me. Now me. This joy I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Now let's do the whole thing. This joy I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Peace, hope. This hope I have, the world didn't give it to me. This hope I have, the world didn't give it to me. This hope I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Love, last one. This love I have, the world didn't give it to me. This love I have, the world didn't give it to me. This love I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away. Peace, peace. This peace I have, the world didn't give it to me. This peace I have, the world didn't give it to me. This peace I have, the world didn't give it to me. The world didn't give it, the world can't take it away.
Our closing words today come from the Reverend Maureen Killeran, a Unitarian Universalist minister of our time, and it is called Blessing for Hope on World AIDS Day. It has been a long struggle, and our work is far from over. As we go forth, may we be empowered by the spirit of hope and healing, whose one name is God and whose other name is love. May the blessings of love be upon us and within us. May love's truth be upon our vision. May love's wisdom dwell within our hearts. May love's persistence inspire our lips. May love's gentleness give comfort to our bodies. May love's gratitude accompany our sleep. May love's healing be a balm for our brokenness. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be. Please enjoy this last piece of music and go in peace on this crisp winter morning.